Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Grow Through It podcast. My name is Julia, and I am so excited today because this episode officially hits the 1 year mark of this podcast. I can't believe it's been a whole year of weekly episodes. Today, I want to reflect a little bit and talk about the lessons I've learned this last year of podcasting and why celebrating milestones matters. But before I get into that, I just want to acknowledge all of you. I feel so blessed and grateful for all of you who listen. Whether you listen to every episode or if this is your first one, thank you so much for supporting me. It truly means so much to me, and it's what keeps me going. I've definitely learned a lot this past year of podcasting. When I first started the podcast, I knew I wanted it to be a long-term thing, and I was determined to release new episodes every week. However, even with that mindset going in, I'm still so proud of myself for actually accomplishing that. Sometimes it is difficult for me to stick to things and stay committed, so I feel so happy knowing I stuck to my goals. However, it hasn't always been easy. There have been weeks when I was so busy and didn't know when I would have time to record, but I made it happen anyway. So lesson number 1 is you will make time for what's important. This podcast is so incredibly important to me, and I never want to miss an episode coming out. So although I felt like I didn't have much time to get it done, I found time and made it happen. It's the same thing when I did 75 Hard. I was extremely busy. Sometimes I was even out of town at competitions all day, but I still found time to get everything done. When something is important to you, you will make time for it. I realize I need to have more of this mindset with other things too, because I just proved to myself that I can make time, so I should be making time for other things that are important as well. Or perhaps some things just aren't as important to me, and maybe I need to acknowledge that. Lesson number 2, consistency over perfection. At first, I wanted everything to be perfect. The sound, length, editing, you name it. But here's what I learned. Showing up consistently beats perfection every time. I know my listeners would rather hear a short, honest episode each week than wait a whole month for something polished. And honestly, that lesson applies to every area of life: your health, your relationships, and your growth. Consistency creates progress. Perfection just slows you down. It's also been important for me to not burn myself out. If I am so focused on making each episode perfect, I'm putting way too much pressure on myself. That's not to say I don't try my best with each episode. I definitely do the best I can, and I put a lot of effort in, but I'm okay with them not being perfect. I think the most important thing for me is to be clear in the messages I'm trying to share, and I like to think I do that. Consistency is what builds progress, so start showing up consistently in your life and see what happens. Lesson number 3, vulnerability builds connection. I have been quite vulnerable on a lot of episodes, and I love sharing my story and perspectives. I was so moved, though, to hear all the wonderful feedback from people when I have gotten really vulnerable. I received messages from people that I didn't even know listened to my podcast. I received feedback letting me know how much hearing that helped them. It's helped me connect to people in a whole new way, and I'm so grateful for that. I think most of us go through very similar things, so although it can be scary to share sometimes, I think it's so important to talk about it so people don't feel so alone. And people connect more with your realness than perfection. That brings me to lesson number 4, do it scared. There have been certain episodes that I've been terrified to put out there because of the vulnerability it took. There was one in particular that I was so scared I'd receive backlash from. But that's the episode I got the most positive feedback on. I was shocked to see the positive responses and the respect towards me because of it. I was also even scared to start the podcast. I was scared of what people might say, the judgments I'd receive, and I was afraid to fail. But I've received nothing but support. And I'm sure there will come a day when this grows a bit bigger that I will ruffle some feathers and people will say negative things, but the support will always outweigh that. Knowing I could help even one person not feel alone and understand their worth is absolutely worth it to me. Lesson number 5. Growth happens when you keep showing up. When I started this podcast, I did not have it all figured out. I didn't have a mic and I didn't know how to edit. But I did a bit of research and I just started. By just doing the podcast, I found my voice and refined my message. I had no idea I'd talk about all the things that I have. I figured it out along the way, and by showing up every week, I grew my confidence and my voice. If you're afraid to start something, just know that you do not need to know the whole path before you start. Clarity shows up as you move forward. You have to trust the process and know that you'll grow as you go. I've also learned that growth is not always linear. Some weeks were much easier than others, some episodes resonated much more than others, and sometimes I questioned if it was worth it. But looking back, I see how far I've come, and like I said, the positive feedback and people sharing with me how much it's helped them has truly kept me going. In a recent episode, I talked about how you have to zoom out to see the bigger picture. When I zoom out, I see how much I've grown and have helped others grow. The same is true for healing, business, and personal development. It's about showing up through those dips that will help you grow even more. When I look at this past year, each of these lessons came from reaching and recognizing little milestones along the way. Whether it was publishing my first episode, hitting 10 episodes, or getting my first listener message. It reminded me that celebrating progress fuels growth, and that's something we all need to practice more in our lives. Let's dive into why celebrating milestones really does matter. Number 1, milestones prove your progress. If you don't pause and acknowledge the milestones, progress can feel invisible. Hitting the 1-year mark of this podcast shows how far I've come, even on the really difficult weeks. A few years ago, I don't think I could have done this, so it proves to me how far I've come. Milestones are proof that your effort is adding up, even when the day-to-day progress feels slow. Number 2, milestones shift your perspective. When you celebrate them, you step back and see the bigger picture. For example, I could worry about whether or not an episode was perfect, or I could look at the bigger picture. I've created an entire library of content that's helping people. A milestone to celebrate for you could be running longer than you ever have before, sticking to a habit for 30 days, an anniversary, or being in business for a certain amount of time. Celebrate these wins, big or small. Number 3, celebration builds motivation and momentum. I am so pumped that I reached an entire year. Acknowledging milestones gives you an energy boost to keep going. Without celebrating, it's easy to fall into the trap of always chasing the next thing. Yes, I am absolutely looking forward to the next year, and I'm planning things for this podcast, but I'm also taking the time to acknowledge this achievement and celebrate it. Celebrating progress doesn't slow you down. It fuels your next step. Celebrating is getting me even more excited for what's to come. Number 4, milestones are reminders of resilience. Every milestone represents obstacles you pushed through, from self-doubt, busy schedules, or technical difficulties. And it's the same in life. Your milestones show not just what you achieved, but what you overcame. Let's use the example of running farther than you have before. That is huge. It proves how much work you've put in and how much you've pushed yourself to grow. If you look at a relationship, celebrating an anniversary isn't just about celebrating your love. It's also important to acknowledge how far you've come and what you've had to go through to get where you are now. Number 5, milestones inspire reflection and vision. Looking back on this last year has helped me see what worked, what inspired me, and where I want to go next. Like I said earlier, when I first started this podcast, I didn't know where I wanted it to go. But 1 year in, I can now set intentions for year 2 with more clarity because I have a better vision of what I want it to look like. I'd like you to look at your own milestones in life, whether it's health, mindset, career, or relationships. Ask yourself, what does this tell me about where I'm headed next? I'd also like you to celebrate these milestones, like I said, big or small. Maybe it's showing up for therapy, setting boundaries, or starting a new routine. Or something a bit bigger, like getting a promotion, hitting a sales target, or opening a business. Share with me on Instagram or send me a message with what milestone you're celebrating. I am so excited to keep growing with you this next year of my podcast. I want to keep sharing vulnerably with you all about my story and my life and take you alongside with me through this growing process. I'd also love to have more guests on and hear more from you guys. I'd love this to be more interactive and to answer questions from you. I have a link in the show notes of each episode where you can anonymously ask questions or suggest future topic ideas. I again just want to share my gratitude with you. I started this podcast because I am so passionate about helping other people. I see so many people unhappy with their lives and their circumstances, and I want to be the voice that tells them they can have more. Each and every one of you is so worthy of having a beautiful and fulfilling life, which is why I end every episode telling you that you're worthy. When I was at my darkest times, I needed to hear from people who had gone through it as well. I needed to hear that I could have more and be happy. I needed to hear that I wasn't being treated right. My biggest hope is that people will hear my podcast and not feel so alone. I want to be the voice that I never had. This is why I put out episodes every week. I want you all to have a happier and healthier life. The listeners are what keeps me going. I love seeing which episodes resonated most with you, and seeing all the different countries that listen has been so incredible. I am still so shocked when I see all the different countries, but it makes me so happy. So thank you all so much for being part of this journey with me, and I can't wait to see what this next year brings. If you have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to DM me on Instagram at growthroughit.pod. I would also be so grateful if you left a rating or review on whatever platform you listen on. It really helps this podcast be seen by other people and helps me grow. If you resonate with this podcast, you can also share it with someone you think would benefit from it. Thank you so much again for listening, and remember that you are worthy. See you next time.